Hey, everybody, welcome to our post show where we sit around in our orange chairs and we talk about everything that you guys just experienced.
Yes.
I like our orange chairs.
Me too.
They're pretty comfy.
Yeah.
It could be bigger.
I don't know. I'm pretty cozy right now.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna settle in.
It works well on screen. It always looks better
It does.
when you guys are sitting nice and close. Yeah, don't come to church next week because we will be at Klein's Resort.
Yep.
I think you heard Perry say it a couple times.
But you've heard us say it too.
But yeah, we just want to emphasize it because I know there's going to be somebody who's going to pull in and show up and be like, "Where is everybody?"
Yeah, maybe they've been gone for 2 weeks. In that case, you should watch our pre and post shows.
That is true. But it is a baptism event. We're pretty excited about that.
Yep.
What do you guys think? Baptism in a lake or a river versus baptisms in the tank,
The tank.
here at church
I don't
with
know,
the
the tank's-
confetti cannons?
The tank's kind of fun because when I do it, people are like, "Andy, did you have to slam them in there so hard?" I was like, "I don't think I do," but everybody always says afterwards when I go back and watch, I was like, "Oh, I did create quite a wave." So
There's a
Just
wave,
choke slam.
shock wave.
yeah, I know. But,
Yeah, because there isn't really a right or wrong to it. Like it's
I'm just
how you get
excited for
baptized.
this person to get baptized.
yeah.
Yeah.
But some people really like doing it out in
Yeah.
the natural elements. Last year we had a really good baptism service when we did
did.
it
It was
down
great.
at Preview Park, but
And I think this year's going to be even better.
I hope so.
So
Do we have
show
a,
up.
do we have a lot of people signed up already, or is like a just come?
It's kind of both. I know there are quite a few people signed up, but I know last year when we did it, there were
were a
people
lot of impromptu.
right on the spot
That's cool.
that wanted to get baptized.
Remember that?
did.
Yeah.
So
Cool.
that was very cool. All right. Well, this morning, before we jump into like the message and what kind of Dave talked about, any impressions from what happened? What was your kind of reaction to everything you experienced this morning?
I like the notion that we're not perfect. I like knowing that, and I like that He makes us perfect. Kind of like attain that. I like it. Gives you kind of like a sigh of relief to know that, to be like. I know all of us have kind of been in that situation where we're feeling like we're not measuring up. We're not kind of getting there. Like there's no way to get there. That's kind of the point that He comes and helps us get there together. I've always appreciated that notion.
Yep. I mean, aside from just showing up, seeing friends, church family, really fun pre-show. Kids love cannonballing, and you got some.
I know, it was pretty
I
great.
was like, all right, cool. And then the one she did like a pretty awesome
like
round
back-
off. I was
Yeah,
like,
I know
hey.
that was cool.
Back handspring.
Would
yeah.
have been funny if one of the boys would have ran in because they're and just boom.
I wish you guys could have seen like they had been building that cup tower.
Yeah.
And then the kid accidentally knocked it over, and he was like, "Oh, I just sat down."
Oh man.
It was pretty great.
Yep. Welcome to the rest of your life, kid.
Yeah. Matt, you got any thoughts over just generically over this morning?
Yeah, it's been going good. I'm pretty happy and
That's
yeah,
good.
I enjoyed
Great.
the sermon and
Yeah.
Justin kind of took my talking points or talked about them first. So
Yeah.
It's all right. We're gonna talk deeper into that.
Yep.
We're gonna
gonna
jump
take all your talking
deeper
points.
into it.
crap.
Just can cut you off.
Perfectionism, though, is kind of what we talked about. If I were to ask the question, are you a perfectionist, or in what areas of your life do you feel like you're a
you go.
perfectionist? How would you answer that?
I like to be perfect in the tasks that I do, which I don't do that. Like, it's very hard to be perfect at anything, but I do strive to be perfect at the tasks I do. I know it's impossible to be perfect as a person,
Yep.
and especially impossible to be perfect enough for God. So, yeah, probably also impossible to be perfect at your tasks, and I should probably give that up, but...
I think that's kind of like the fine line, of striving for excellence versus perfection. I think that's kind of like what you've strived with us in the worship band. You say it all the time. Let's like be excellent. Let's be as pristine as we can. But like we make mistakes. It's not like the end of the world. And I think that's kind of how I like to live my life too. I like to, if it really matters, like raising my kids or like being a husband, that kind of stuff. I like to be as like perfect as possible. Like meet their needs as much as I can. But obviously, I'm going to mess up. I mess up every single day. That's kind of the game of it all. But just kind of at least striving for the excellence that you can reach, I think, is an important thing to do.
That's a good, interesting point. And here at Connections, one of our values, we have 4 core values that are displayed prominently in our building.
Yeah.
Right? Do you guys know them all? We even made
course, you're
T-shirts
from
of them.
Compassion,
I might
acceptance,
be wearing one.
You know, acceptance. I got that one out of the way.
R, and excellence, relevance.
And
That's it.
excellence.
Relevance
And
excellence. But yeah, that sometimes that desire for excellence can cross into this desire for perfectionism. And so having that kind of balance or that understanding of what it really is and what it really means is very important.
But to answer your question, no, I'm definitely not a perfectionist. I'm a we tried kind of guy. And
Sort of what Dave said. In some aspects, I am. In others, I'm not. Like in my little nerd room in the basement, I can get overly obsessive with making sure things are how I like it. You know, comic books sorted correctly by character, writer, stuff like that. So in those areas, I can consider myself what the world calls a quote unquote perfectionist. But much like Justin said, it's like as long as you're striving for excellence and to be better, that's what I've learned and what I've kind of grown into, thankfully. Because when you're younger, you know, the world tells you you can be perfect. I'm like, no, I know I can't. And that's what I always used to joke, like, I'm not perfect. I don't see holes in my hands and feet. But that was sometimes a way to like deflect when I know I didn't give it my all or stuff like that. So, so it's just striving.
Yeah, I would say
Pressing on, one might say.
Yeah.
oh, someone watched the
Yeah.
sermon.
Somebody pay attention.
I would say for me, I would say I am definitely a perfectionist. Not in all aspects of my life, but in the parts that I feel like I have the most control over.
Sure.
And I think this became very evident and something that I know that I have to work on specifically for myself is when I view my perfectionism, whether it's in my job or whether it's in my craft or music or whatever it is, it's always about raising the standard for myself to almost an impossible level that I can never achieve, and then I'm always so hard on myself for not reaching that perfectionism. But what I realize is, especially in a role where I'm leading other people, I am so quick to extend grace and overlook. Like, if it doesn't happen, okay, well, I would have liked it to be better, but it's okay. It's not a big deal.
Yep.
But for me, that telling myself, oh, it's not a big deal or it's okay not to be perfect, that's really difficult
We're always
for
hardest
me
on
to
ourselves.
do for myself. It's very difficult.
It is. I mean, that's almost every aspect of life. I feel like you said, we're always hardest on ourselves, and it's easier to extend that grace. Probably because inherently we know we've had grace given to us that we don't deserve. But why I can't allow myself to turn that off in my own head and go, Andy, you tried really hard. You just, like you said, set this unrealistic expectation of what you can do, and then I still beat myself up over it. So I get it.
Yeah. And that's really what David's talking about. It's not necessarily perfectionism in our tasks or our jobs or whatever. And that's how we view it a lot. And that's how we internalize it. Sure. But it's this idea that God is perfect. And we can never achieve perfection because of the brokenness of the sin of ourselves. And I love how he put perfectionism isn't a prize to achieve. It's a promise to receive.
Yeah.
And it's that gift. So he walked through kind of 3 different statements that he said that the gift of perfectionism is received by faith. That was one that he brought from Romans 3. He said, but now apart from the law of righteousness of God has been made known. This righteousness is given through faith in Jesus Christ to all who believe. That was one. So the gift of perfection is received by faith. The second one was the gift of perfection is realized by effort.
Yes.
And he talked in Philippians chapter 3. I don't mean to say that I've already reached perfection, but I press on to possess that perfection for which Christ Jesus first possessed me. So, and then I'll just read let me read the last one, then I'm going to come back, circle back, and we'll kind of discuss. The gift of perfection is completed in God. And back in Philippians chapter 1, it says, God who became good work within you will continue his work until it is finally finished on the day when Christ Jesus returns. So, here's my question for you guys. Let me find it. Sorry, we're
had some
having,
gremlins in our system
we're having
this
some
morning.
system issues, which is why none of it's being displayed. I'm trying to scroll through my phone. All right. What do you need to do? So if we're looking at this in the totality, thank you. We have somebody helping.
Christine.
What do you need to do to change? What do you need to do or change to become who God has made you to be? So this is really about the action steps of what we need to do. So let's get to the heart of it. Let's just be real for a minute and say, what do you need to do or what do you need to change to become who God has made you to be?
Phew. Well, first off, accepting that we are made perfect through Jesus. Like when we've accepted, I love Dave's zygote analogy, and how when you accept Jesus, you're born again, and that all these traits, who I am now, was always there. It's just taken 44 years for it to come out, 45 years for me to realize and learn different things and just be comfortable with who I am. And if I'm comfortable in who I am, God has made me perfect, and I need to start acting that, not that I'm perfect as a human, of course, but things that I can do where I fall short, God can make those things better. And in his eyes, when we're striving to do that and work on things that we know we need to work on, like me, it is definitely reading my Bible, because I can listen to it great, but for some reason, it's easy for me to turn that off and just go, I will read that later and I'll move on. And it's like, no, if I don't do that, I keep putting it off and putting it off and putting it off. And then I notice that's when I'm harder on myself. And things that hit, I take more personally, because I'm like, Andy, you should be, and it all goes back to that one little piece, There's more to it, of course, than that, but that's the big one that I know for me. Because reading for me is it can be a chore. There's no pictures. I'm not going to read it. It's tough.
So how do you think we can? How do you think you can kind of help set yourself up to solve that problem? Like, what are something that you can practically do?
Thankfully, the Bible app does have a portion of it that will read the Bible to you. And I love audiobooks and things like that. So in the car, I've set myself some time, maybe 10, 15 minutes of my drive to and from work, wherever I'm going, to have that played through my speaker so I can read it and think about or hear it and think about what they read and basically apply, so I look at different daily plans for what I might be going through, or what I want to strengthen. And those I kind of read quickly, skim the study, and then have the verse read to me. So that's one way I've been doing it the last couple. It's funny that this came up today, because I was like, oh boy, I've kind of been working on it. Like, God put that on my heart. And now Dave's talking about it. Like, funny how that happens.
Yeah, funny how it sometimes seems to be pointed right at you, right?
Yeah, like staring directly at me. Like, there's nobody else in this church. It's just me right now. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's good. That's a real practical step that everybody can do. The YouVersion app is free. You can get it on any of your app stores. What's cool about that is there are so many different Bible studies or reading plans or topical things. So if it's something that you're really interested in, or you want to know about what the Bible talks about, whatever, you name it, they've got reading plans on there, and yeah, it'll read it to you. So you can set it up while you're driving the car. What about you guys? What do you need to do or change to become who God has made you to be? Anything jumping out?
Mainly the keep pressing on. I'm pretty inconsistent sometimes, especially when it comes to pursuing my faith. Just because it's like I'm not being paid to do it. I don't have to do this or else I won't wake up tomorrow. I don't have to do this or it'll poop on my floor like my dog does. So like it's the most essential thing that feels the least essential. Sometimes.
I get what you're saying.
So I need to, because it helps me constantly check myself. And if I don't, I'll just continue down a path of mistakes, and life will be worse.
I was going to say, if you don't check yourself, you'll wreck yourself.
Yeah,
It's right there.
Man, that's an interesting point, and I love how you said that, and I totally get that. I think people can relate with that, because sometimes it feels like you get in a good place, you get in a good rhythm, and then it's, oh, I'm just gonna, you know what? I'll get to that later.
Yep.
It isn't that, oh, I need to eat to sustain myself, but it is essential for life sustaining. You're right. It's that spiritual need that you have, and when you don't have it, you definitely feel it.
yeah,
And then getting back into that routine, getting back, pressing on, keep moving forward, that can be a challenge.
it really can. In my life, I feel like every time I get out of a routine, it is like twice as hard to get back in.
Have you found any good helpful tips that you can share with anybody who, like, what motivates you to get back into that routine?
It really helps if I have like some sort of like my friends depending on me to do it or accountability.
Sure.
So like we have a Bible study on Monday nights, and I feel like if I show up and I haven't read it and I don't know what's going on, what's the point of me even being there? Because I don't want to show up and what's the best way to say this? That doesn't sound like I have a massive head.
I want to hear that version.
So I don't want to show up and only learn. I want to also be helpful to the conversation.
Gotcha.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that you want to contribute. You want to,
Yes.
yeah.
There's nothing worse than the kid that shows up that didn't do the homework and then gets the A because everybody else
Right.
put forth
right.
the effort.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not that I
Throwback
was
to
that
high
kid.
school. Yeah.
Sometimes.
Thanks, group projects. Exactly.
Yeah. Also, I mean, those Bible studies on the YouVersion app are fantastic because you can literally whatever you're struggling with that week, there's probably a 5 to 7 day study on it.
Yeah.
So I just type in the hot word that I'm feeling that week. Oh, I'm feeling lonely this week. Let's do every single day this week. Let's do a little study that takes like 5 minutes on
Yes.
loneliness.
It's the perfect length to
Yeah.
kind of. Yep.
Yeah, it's really helpful and really convenient, and it does not take long.
Yeah. That's good. Justin, you got any thoughts? We got about a minute before we got to wrap this up.
Yeah, no. I think for me, kind of what triggered me when he said like pressing on. I remembered the Reliant K.
I was just
Pressing
saying
On
it in my head going.
And I was like, it's really accurate for like what he's talking about because it's kind of like that. Like, I won't sit back and take this anymore. I'm done with that. Got one foot out the door. It's kind of like this idea that like, go back to where I was or just be wrong and press on all that. But it's this idea that like, just kind of like always growing and moving forward. Like even if it's just like little baby steps as you go. I think that we've all had times where I've like even this year alone, I've had awesome strides and kind of like accepting parts about myself and like growing and moving on. And I remember other years, it's like I kind of feel the same. Like New Year's resolutions come around, and you're like, oh, I didn't really do anything this year. But it's just every step forward is a step, and I think it's good to appreciate that as you kind of move forward and try to be a better person.
Sure.
Especially trying to reach an unattainable goal of perfection that he helps you reach. I think that's good to put that in perspective. But,
Very much so.
Yeah. And putting it all back into that relationship that you have with Jesus, it all comes back to that. And while it may feel unimportant or unessential, it is the most essential part of your life.
Yep.
And we hope that you find joy in your relationship with Jesus. We hope that you find a connection to him, and we can find it together. And that's why we come together each week here at Connections. We're excited that you guys joined us this morning. We hope to see you back again next week. If you need to reach out to us, go to my3c.org. We would love to talk to you. Until then, we'll see you later.